Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cosmic Owl Astrology with Louise Eddington, Wisdom Weaver and Cyberpunk Priestess to the Stars. I'm here today to talk about the upcoming Scorpio new moon that is on November the 20th. I'm recording this on November the 10th, 10 days before. And I think we do need a lot of prep for this one. It's a biggie and I've got a lot to talk about. But before I do, I would just like to remind you that registration for my newly redesigned and expanded membership portal, the Spiral Codex, ends at the end of Friday the 15th. So you've got all this week to consider registering. But not only that, I am doing a 10K run on November the 27th, Thanksgiving morning, for the food bank. And yes, the government has come to kind of some deal, but believe me, I don't think this is a good deal. But so people are going hungry, the food banks are overwhelmed, and I decided to do, start playing a song called Believe Me, My Watch. Anyway, for those that would like to sponsor me for my 10K, there is a link below. But if you are also interested in becoming a member of the Spiral Codex, where you get a call a week, massive discounts, access to my 101 astrology course, which is currently being updated and expanded, and there's going to be more in there as well. You have to join for a 6-month minimum or for a year. The year deal is the better price because you get a whole month free for that. But also, if you sponsor me for $50 for my 10K, you will get a 25% discount off either membership, which is more than your sponsorship. So it's helping others, helping yourself, blah blah blah, you get a bigger discount, all of those things. It just seemed like a really great way to kind of donate me, do the 10K, help people. You join what is really now a mentorship portal. So whether you are a spiritual seeker or a practicing astrologer who wants to grow your practice, or some other kind of practitioner who wants to integrate some astrology into your practice, it's a really great place with a very aligned community and a community portal where you can chat and so on. Every week there's a call. Anyway, all the details will be below, but it's only till Friday, end of Friday the 15th, or when I wake up on the 16th. Registration will close. Okay, so where was I? Yep, cards. Oh, so much to talk about with this one, but glimpse of the cards, which we'll come back to at the end. 3 major arcana, which does not surprise me, and this is going to be a deep new moon. It's going to be quite shocking. We'll talk about that. Anyway, we get the goddess of discs first of all, which is the snake in the spiral, in the red threads tarot. And Scorpio, one of the symbols of Scorpio, of course, is the snake, and discs is an earth card. So we'll come back to that. Then I pulled the card, which is actually a water card. This is Cancer. So we'll come back to that too. Then lastly, I pulled, because I did pull it up right, with the moon, which signifies massively deep emotion, more water. And Scorpio is a water sign, of course. And here we get as well, I pulled just as an extra card, the Hive Queen from the Witch Oracle deck. Alrighty. So, oh gosh, where to start? I'm going to pull up the chart first of all, I think. But first thing I want to say is that the moon is out of bounds on this new moon. The Mercury will be back in bounds. And Pluto has just reached 23 degrees 27 minutes, so it's also back in bounds, on the verge kind of thing. We've also got Hygeia out of bounds and Black Moon Lilith, but that's not unusual. Vesta's also out of bounds. And so that's it. But the moon is out of bounds, and it is a new moon. So that's where we'll kind of start. So let me share. And instead of highlighting before, I'm going to highlight as we go so you can see it. So here is the new moon, 28 Scorpio. Mercury is also at 28 Scorpio, and Mercury is only 16 minutes from the sun and moon, which means the Mercury is cazimi already. The exact conjunction of the sun and the moon is shortly after the new moon, but really this is all happening together. Then opposing this is the Lord of Lightning Bolts, or the shock and awe, or the rebel, the revolution, revolt, opposing this new moon. And Uranus is at 2929, the anaretic degree. We also have Neptune at 2929. This is just absolutely astounding to me, by the way. It's just... And we also have Ceres here. Ceres is about to station direct, and Ceres is at the degree that the Sun and Venus met back on March the 22nd, and Venus is about to disappear behind the Sun. Okay. We also have Mars is fairly close to the Sun too. So these two, all these personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, are really close with the Sun. And Ceres, also a personal planet in my opinion, is at the degree Venus stationed. Venus was with the Sun back in March the 22nd, as Venus disappears behind the Sun to head towards her superior conjunction. So this is just so powerful, really. I mean, just look at all of this here in Scorpio for a start. But not only that, before we dive into what all of this could mean, Mercury is is closest to the Sun during its retrograde on November the 23rd. So Mercury is really close to the Sun and the Earth on this moment, because when Mercury is retrograde, it's between the Sun and the Earth. So Mercury is very, very potent on November the 23rd, just 3 days after this new moon. Now, Uranus is the opposite. Uranus is in the orbit furthest from the Sun, reaches aphelion, and that is at its, not aphelion, the opposition on the 21st. Uranus is opposing the Sun on the 21st, and that's when it's closest to the Earth as well. So that makes those two planets very potent. Now, Mercury and Uranus are both really of the nature of higher mind and lower mind. Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and Uranus is kind of lightning bolts and shock and awe. I'll talk about a few other things in a minute, but before I just kind of try and sum all this up, I want to point out that we also have this water grand trine ongoing, which is really kind of becoming a kite with Uranus. I mentioned this with on the video with Kathy the other day, but we've got this massive water grand trine with Saturn Jupiter, which is just stationed retrograde, Saturn, which is not far off stationing direct, Black Moon Lilith is bobbing in and out. Really, all of this is happening together in the last 5 degrees of these signs, of water signs and of Earth, which is Taurus. So, is that all I wanted to say? Yeah, I don't want to bring too much else in. But anyway, this is a massive lot of water and earth, and this is huge. So I'm going to try and sum up what it means in a minute, but there's some other little details I would like to point out first of all. So I've got these pictures, so bear with me a minute. Oh, I've got so many bits, so here we go. This is the first one. So because I've been watching Stefan Burns, a shout out to him again, I thought I'm going to look where this new moon is on the geodetic map, the ACG map. So, well, for a start, this is the Uranus line. I decided to just take a picture so I could go close in. This is going through Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Russia. And it's probably going to affect a lot of areas around to the east of this line. Okay, so he had already said that there are swarms of earthquakes happening over in that area of the chart. But there's not only that. So we stop that square share, and I want to get the other image up. The new moon itself, which is, remember, opposing Uranus. And I don't want to worry anybody, but I would, just do your preparations. The actual new moon itself is going here, right through the east coast, through the east coast of Oregon, northern California, up through Vancouver and places. And there are already swarms of small earthquakes in the San Francisco Bay Area right now. Okay, so not only that though, which line is it? Okay, this purple dotted line is the opposite point of where Uranus is on the map. So these are all coming together, and this is all in earth and water, which has the potential for big earthquake and earth moving and even tsunami potential. So please, please, please just at least be aware of it. I am not predicting it. I am not sure if anybody has managed to accurately predict where an earthquake will be. But if you live in those areas, then you know that earthquake preparedness is a real good thing to do. And also, if you live in close to the coast, at least make some preparations to, move inland or upland if you can. Other couple of things I want to mention is asteroids. Now, there's a few asteroids at the same degree as this new moon, and that's the Mercury cazimi as well. One is Liberatrix, which I find really interesting because Uranus is the great liberator. So this could liberate us as well from many, many old patterns. Okay, so that's that for a start. We've also got Cleopatra. She was the Egyptian goddess, but another one that I find very significant is Typhon or Typhoon, and that can indicate big storms of the typhoon type. So just saying again. And in the opposite corner or side of this is we have asteroid Felicia, as in by Felicia. So combined with Liberatrix, are we going to be saying bye Felicia to some people? These are the only asteroids I'm really going to talk about right now, but these just add to the energy of this being stormy. And as without, so within, and as above, so below. This is a very, very stormy new moon, but it's full of potential. It's full of potential for, okay, let's start with the Scorpio energy. In Scorpio, Mercury is cazimi. Huge things could come to light, huge communication. Some of it could be quite shocking. I've mentioned already on the video with Kathy that it could be literally names, files, things like that. I mean, surely if the House in the US has to go back in session to do this deal, which is such a bad deal. Why do the Democrats always cave? Why do they let themselves get played? Time for Schumer to leave. Time for those 8 that voted for it to be primaried. Ridiculous. They believed the Republicans. They're going, it's the best we can get. What? Anyway, they've caved as always, and so that's my opinion. And I'm not the only one. So that's why I'm wearing Bloodfest t-shirt. It's a bit of a bloodfest. However, if the House has to go back in session, surely Speaker Johnson will have to swear in Grijalba, and she will be the extra vote needed to release the Epstein files. Yeah, we'll see. So, but anyway, we have got Black Moon, Lilith, Sun, Moon, and Mercury all jammed really close together. And Black Moon Lilith really is a feminist kind of energy. She is where she's been disempowered and had her personal empowerment stripped away, or where we've allowed it to be stripped away. And Scorpio really often has a lot to do with power games, manipulation, power over, and power from within. It's related to the deepest chakras, the root, the sacral, and that's where that Kundalini snake energy comes from that we're going to look at with the snake goddess. Okay, so, this new moon is really asking you to dig deep and step into your personal empowerment and dig into your deepest emotional well of resources. And if you are unable to do that, find people that can help you do it. With the Uranus on the opposite point in the sign of Taurus, which is money, values, things like that, this could be financial shocks. But, I'm wondering if this is going to be the financial shocks of the what these oligarchs all over the world are doing, of what they are taking away from people, the wealth grab, how how especially in the US, because we are such a focal point right now, about how it's almost like they want people to starve, and gradually, people are waking up to the fact that their health costs are either going to triple, double, or the ACA is going to be about Obamacare is going to be done away with once and for all, which is what they've wanted. And they don't have anything to replace it. I was here when the ACA came in, and I didn't know many people, but I do remember the overwhelming amount of people that was saying, I've finally been able to get healthcare, or entrepreneurs could finally afford to buy healthcare. The way it's going, there's going to be so many people without healthcare, and I don't trust them to reinstate the SNAP benefits. They've already said that they're not going to reinstate them in full, and they have said something about holding states to ransom if they try and kind of fulfill all the unpaid SNAP benefits from this month that we're in, or something like that. So many details I haven't gone. I mean, it's not passed yet, but it will probably, with 8 Democrats caving. Then it will go to the House, where if the Dems were able to stand up against it, they would need to get 60% of the vote. Not going to happen. This is just terrible, to be quite honest. Anyway, But as always, I do see potential. You know, we're 10 days away from this new moon. I think people are going to start to realize what this really means. And it means what it means for our government as a whole. Because I blame the Democratic leadership for caving here. Chuck Schumer needs to resign. But the financial shocks could be, in terms of the prices keeping going up, the healthcare costs just shooting up as the open enrollment starts for the ACA, and realizing how the people are being impacted by this, because I don't think we can understand the fullness of it yet. Apparently, they've also snuck in slightly more tax cuts for the wealthy. Unbelievable. But anyway, the shock, I think, is going to emerge as we go over the next 10 days. But on the new moon, pretty much on it, I think, you know, something big could come out with Mercury, or people are going to be awakened to what's happening in the world and how we can do the change. So it's stormy internally and it's stormy externally, if that makes sense. So it's really, really strong. So, you know, you really get to just try and keep the faith through this period, and really try to uh, steal into your inner resources. If you have the potential, like I do a 10k for the food bank, or to give food for the food bank, or to do volunteer at the food bank, or any other organization that will help people that are going to be really struggling through this time. If you are lucky enough to be one of the ones that is less impacted by this, then this is the time to step into those shared resources, kind of step into that snake energy, that kundalini, and go, okay, grit my teeth and get things done. All right. Now, I mentioned that Ceres is stationing direct at the degree that Venus and the Sun met back on March the 21st. Well, that's happened, 22nd, sorry, last year. No, earlier this year. Oh, time. Well, that's happening the very next day, November the 21st, at 6:59 p.m. Eastern. Ceres will station direct, and she will station direct at 2 degrees 30 minutes. But you want to know something really funny? She's going to be in an exact fire trine to Black Moon Lilith, who is with the sun and moon on this new moon. And Black Moon Lilith will have dipped in, I use the true calculation in case you're wondering, will have dipped into Sagittarius. That's fire, that's passion. That is saying no. This is not meeting our needs. If you haven't got my series book already, go get my series book. If you have it, reviews. Please, 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 people, leave me a review on Amazon. Even if you bought it elsewhere, you can do it under the Kindle version. I kind of got stuck at 32 reviews, and I'd love more because more reviews get the book seen more. But anyway, here's the book. But she, if I could sum her up, is needs met and unmet. But also she is to do with climate change, referring to, you know, what we just talked about. So, about the storms. Will it take another big storm to wake people up? Maybe. Perhaps that's what we need. And incidentally, when the next day, when Ceres stations direct at the Venus star point from March the 22nd, Venus moves behind the sun that day, pretty much. Depends where you are in the world. So 2 minutes 30 is where Ceres will station direct. 2 minutes 39 degrees was the Venus star point. And this star point is opposing the supergalactic center. So it's got this really powerful, powerful energy here. And oh, I forgot to say, I want to just supergalactic center, according to Philip Sedgwick. Okay, he said that he calls it a cosmic vacuum cleaner. It's about on the axis of acceptance and approval. It takes on, in Libra, it takes on infinitesimal proportions. This can manifest as sequential monogamy, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he also said that he said this is not a grim spot. This is about our core need to connect, really. Okay, if you look at it in the connective, it's our core need or desire, let's say, to connect, to realize that we are all in this together. So that's my feeling about that, the full moon itself. I'm just going to tune in and see if there's anything else, because honestly, this new moon is huge. So I really want you to think about what you want. I want you to really start to tune into what you really want to co-create, or how you can step into your deepest resources to help to co-create, to help draw out what you want to co-create. This new moon is also, I mentioned the water grand trine. Jupiter is also square to Eris and Chiron, which are still traveling together. And that's got this shake up and fight for the outsider kind of energy as well. There's just so much going on in this enormous new moon. And not only that, Venus and Juno, let me share the chart again. Venus and Juno are in what's called a semi-sextile aspect, so they are still speaking to her. So Venus is relationships, but also relationship to the material world, including money, and Vesta, which is contracts, our sacred contracts with all that is. These two are speaking to each other at 16 degrees, with Juno square to the nodes, which are at the midpoint of Virgo and Pisces. We are really being asked to do the right thing in spiritual service more and more. All of us, whether you know it's spiritual service or not, and it can be done in a manner of ways, but whatever way works for you. Because I'm doing that sponsorship, the 10K for my membership, I'm now thinking of other ways I can integrate my work with my passion for what I'm going to call activism, but helping others, let's call it that. How can I help others? How can I create a little bit of a movement to help others through my work as well? So ideas might come on this new moon, by the way. Anyway, if you have anything around the last 5 degrees of pretty much any sign, but particularly the fixed signs, which are oh God, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, you will be very much impacted. But also, any water signs, this is just massive. So last 5 degrees, really. If you have any placements in the last 5 degrees of any signs, you're going to be feeling it. But I'm also going to add in the very early degrees as well, because we've still got all these other planets speaking to each other at the very early degrees, including Ceres stationing direct at 2 Aries. Okay, so no, not cards yet. I did want to quickly look at the numbers. So 28 in numerology for the number of the actual new moon and the cazimi is a number of leadership, success, and ambition, particularly in finances. It does contain the independent number 2 and the influential number 8, and is reduced down to 10 or 1, which is new beginnings. Now this does give me hope. I think this could be, it's not only a new moon, but I think what's going to be uncovered from the shadows of Scorpio, of areas of disempowerment, manipulation, seedy stuff, the secrets, the spicy, not that Scorpio is always like that, but in the dark of the moon, I think it will be. This is saying, okay, we're going to bring in this assertive energy 8, and the leadership number of 1, and really go, like, if you think of the 8, it's so strong. This is our inner strength. So this is independence, confidence, vision, drive, but combined with the 2, which is diplomacy, cooperation, and partnership, and 8, which is power and material success. Now then, I did mention that we have Uranus and Neptune both at 29. I can't ignore that. 29 is an 11, which is a master number. And so we have here, and it's the master number of illumination, intuition, psychic abilities, enlightenment, okay? It's seen as so-called karmic number, so it can bring some tests and trials, and it combines the energy of 2 and 9, so more diplomacy, balance, and sensitivity, with the 9 signifying completion, humanitarianism, and spiritual awareness. So this combination creates a drive towards using intuition for the benefit of others. And we have Neptune in its own sign of Pisces and Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which is related to the physical and all our physical senses. So how can you combine those from this awakening we're all going to get during this time? Now then, quickly, I'm going to look at the symbols again, because I did talk about these on my Mercury retrograde video, but I'm going to read different opinion of it. Linda Hill, she wrote another book on the Sabian symbols. So a reminder, it's an Indian woman is pleading to the chief for the lives of her children. Anyway, so I don't know why they always have to say Indian woman and chief, but you get the power imbalance there, right? Okay, but standing up for the less able. Okay, so this says you may find a need to stand up for those in your care, whether it's your children, your ideals, creative pursuits, or other people. I'm just going to talk about that, right? That's and then I'm going to read Elias Lonsdale's interpretation of John Sandbach's Chandra symbol, which was an umbilical cord. Definitely completely attached, but what you are attached to changes drastically. Each time it is to the source of sustenance. If at first a mother womb, an elemental past, it can easily become later on a great teacher, a path, a journey. You are still thoroughly, personally hooked into the sweetness, the juice, the power. Yet as the levels shift, as the attunement deepens, you go from destructive enmeshment towards incredible openings. And as you learn to cut loose from each last thing and to move forward or toward the next greater thing, you become adept in the rough process of inner soul work. You have an extraordinary aptitude for taking the most binding and heavy duty circuits and moving into and through them, grasping hold of the guiding influence of ever greater circles of allegiance, leading eventually toward mutation and evolutionary breakthrough of the first magnitude. So the potential on this new moon for massive breakthroughs is huge, but it is very stormy. All right, we're going to look at the cards. So the first card I pulled was, the Goddess of Discs, the snake. So bear with me. There's an interesting thing going on in her book here, but anyway, I won't go into that. I did message her about it. I think she actually took it off sale to redo the book, but bear with me. This is rebirth, basically. The power of life causes the snake to shed its skin just as the moon sheds its shadow. That was Joseph Campbell. And Plato said the greatest privilege of a human life is to become a midwife in the awakening of the soul in another person. You are born again, for you have met the midwife of your soul. By the way, if you know shamanic practices or if you know anybody that does them, I do, but I don't offer it as an individual because I haven't got time. Cord cutting and soul retrieval would be really good on this new moon. I'm probably going to do it for myself because that's all I have time for. 7. So the card. The card is usually a number of momentum. And this is, the words for this one is I am driven. But she said it's the concealment. Linda Hill, that is. Another Linda Hill. Anyway, every time you leave home, another road takes you into a world you were never in. And magic is a way of living. Oh, that was John O'Donoghue. Magic is a way of living. If one has done one's best to steer the chariot, and one then notices a greater other is actually steering, then a magical operation takes place. That's Carl Jung's Red Book. Then we have the last card for this is the moon, which is semele in this one, 18, which is usually a little bit depressing. I mean, Scorpio, this is going to be deep, deep feelings, but it's also I am intuition. Okay, you're really being asked to step deep into yourself. So there's a Rumi quote here: put your thoughts to sleep. Do not let them cast a shadow over the moon of your heart. Let go of thinking. It says, on a dark, moonless light night, look up and know yourself. All right, one last card. Move my cat. She's getting really annoyed because she wants to go out of the room now, and she's going to start getting annoying in a second. You might see her in a second. I haven't had this card before, I don't think. Anyway, the Hive Queen, or maybe I did once. Bees are nature's alchemists, making honey from pollen, turning base flower materials into liquid gold. The bees invite you to work your own alchemy, to take the sorrows and disappointment of your life and turn them into grace, experience, and wisdom. There she is. A witch woman in total control of herself knows that in order for this alchemy to take place, she needs to invoke forgiveness. First for herself, she understands there will be times she could not possibly have known or done better and must forgive her ignorance. When she knows better but doesn't do better, she forgives herself so she can enter the galvanizing force of transformation and self-cultivation, rather than sink into the patriarchal gravity of self-condemnation. She forgives others as well, understanding that holding on to injustice, no matter how righteous, is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. She knows in her very veins that sometimes she must forgive when it is not sought out, when the other is not sorry, and in their ignorance or intolerance is blind to her pain. When forgiveness is requested by another, she honors herself by acknowledging that accountability and forgiveness are sisters. That accountability and forgiveness are sisters, only thriving when paired. Every relationship that suffers an infraction needs accountability in order to move forward. If there is no accountability, there can be forgiveness, but no ongoing relationship. These are her boundaries, both tender and fierce, engaged to keep the hive of her heart whole, a welcoming place for the bees to sing their songs, making melody and honey where once there was only sorrow. Oof. So buckle up, guys. This is a very strong new moon. Lean into it, lean into your inner snake goddess and your intuition and your knowing, and that strong desire for personal growth and expansion. And check out the membership or just the sponsorship for the 10K in the details below. I would appreciate any or either. And there's only 10 spots, right? 10 discounted spots for my membership before it closes at the end of this week. And I think 4 are already taken. I think I estimated the other day. There's a few spots left. Bye. And then it will open again in 6 months. I'm going to do 6-month periods from now on so people really get connected in the community. Bye bye.